Hi friends, welcome to my channel, and this is the latest in my Decan videos, looking this time at the Eight of Pentacles. And so on the top line here I have the Rider-Waite-Smith, and on the bottom line here I have the Thoth Tarot. So I like to put these together to see the way they've been interpreted historically. Now this Decan is active between the 22nd of August and the 1st of September. And so those were the dates that the Golden Dawn assigned to these cards for magical workings. But I'm sort of looking at them in my own timeline and the way that I associate them with life as it is now, really. So looking at the astrology that was assigned to these cards, for the Hermit we have the sign of Virgo, and for the Sun we have the Sun. So that's a planetary association, and that's a zodiacal association. The zodiacal association relates to the time of year, so the Sun sign that is active during the time of this Decan, and this is Virgo. We've got the sign here for Virgo on the card, and you might just see, oh, those cards are quite small, the sign for Virgo on there on the bottom of the tree on the Thoth Tarot. So let's have a little look at the way that the astrological associations give meaning to the Eight of Pentacles. The deck I'm using for the astrological associations is this one here, which is the Barbieri Zodiac Oracle. The artwork here, Paolo Barbieri, and the text by Barbara Moore. I've got a few of his decks. I think I did a walkthrough. Yeah, I did a walkthrough of the Night Fairies Oracle on this channel. That's one of his decks. So yeah, I am really engrossed in his artwork. I think it's amazing. And then the text, Barbara Moore. Well, Barbara Moore is a well-known writer on the tarot, very experienced. So this is a good deck to go to, I think. So how does this association, the Sun in Virgo, relate to our card, the Eight of Pentacles? So let's have a look first at, let's have a look at the planet first. Of course, this is a Los Carabeo deck, which means it's in loads of language, so we don't get that much information, to be fair. So just a tiny little paragraph here on the Sun. So the Sun is strongly associated with your birthday, the day you came into being, and represents the need to express your sense of self. Other issues involve variations of this, such as self-image, self-esteem, individuality, identity, and personal creativity. So we have here indeed an individual expressing their own creativity here, their own sense of self, what they want to become, and how they're working towards that aim. So that's how I see that association there. So with Virgo, this the key word for Virgo is I analyze. This runs from August the 23rd to September the 22nd. So this Virgo influence we'll be seeing in the next three cards, in the 8, 9 and 10 of Pentacles, because their Decan dates run through the same phase of the year. It says it's an earth sign, so Pentacles is an earth element suit as well. It says the realistic earth creates a stable eye of the storm centre in the swirling mutable energy, and suggests shutting out all distractions in order to properly analyse the situation. The key phrase I analyse clearly states the motivation. In this situation, asks what can be ignored and what must be attended to. The details matter. Analysis is a great skill, as is paying attention to details. However, taken to an extreme, those gifts can become traps of pettiness and obsessiveness. Avoid being overcritical. So I think we can clearly see that in the Rider-Waite-Smith illustration of the Eight of Pentacles, that attention to detail, focusing on the job in hand and coming away from all distractions as well, because if you see the tone in the background here, then this person has isolated themselves in order to concentrate on what they want to achieve without distraction. So we see that solitary aspect in the Hermit card as well, don't we? And what we also see inside the lamp here is a light. It looks like a star, but it's definitely shining a light out. And of course, our Sun card is giving light. And so by putting light onto the subject, we can see all the details. We need light to be able to fathom things out, to be able to see clearly without shadows. And so here the Hermit is lighting the way forward, and the Sun is giving their illumination to the subject as well. So the Hermit and Virgo. Well, the Hermit, as I said, Virgo is mutable earth, analytical, and pays attention to detail. So we're looking at the detail, all the detail here. It's a perfectionist energy as well. Wants to achieve perfection, and in doing so has to nurture self-control, make informed choices, be methodical, be practical, be resourceful. And the ruling planet is Mercury, because on the tree of life we have the association to Hod. So I'm looking now at this wonderful deck, Tarot of Magical Correspondences, created by Eugene Vininsky. And for our Eight of Coins, our Eight of Pentacles, we can clearly see here that it's associated with Hod there on the tree of life. We've got lots of other associations as well. We've got the Hebrew letters there. We've got the Sun in Virgo, the vision of splendour. What else we've got? Someone working on their craft here, with a hammer and an anvil. Let's have a little look at what the book says. So Hod is associated with the word splendour. It says the mystic number of the Sephiroth, which is Hod, is 36. And it's got lots of little associations as well for Hod, because that rules all of the 8 cards in the tarot. So when we break it down now to the 8 of Coins, titles and attributions is Prudence, and in the Thoth card we can actually see it says Prudence at the bottom there. It's the elements and the senses are earth and touch, and so we can see a hand here reaching out to touch. Attribution of pentagram, left lower point. So that's the pentagram there, and that's where we find it on the pentagram. And it says the meaning: too cautious in minor things, but takes risks in more important matters. Penny wise and pound foolish. Receiving small amounts of cash or education. And of course we can assign pentacles or coins to money. It can also be about health and any material matter. When we look at the Hermit in the Tarot of Magical Correspondences, the Hebrew meaning for that is hand. And so that could also mean why the hand comes in on the actual 8 of Pentacles. And it's the intelligence of will. So using our willpower to actually achieve the goals. It says the symbol of the Yeti Yod is hand. The hand is people's main tool they use to implement their ideas and eventually the God's plan. Any invention made by a human is first of all a reflection of a divine idea. And the meaning for the Hermit is wisdom, active divine inspiration. It's really interesting how that actually aligns to their 8 of Coins there, or the 8 of Pentacles. The Hebrew meaning for the Sun is head. So we're using our head and our hands to actually achieve our goals. And it's the power of acquiring wealth. It is the Lord of the fire of the world. You can see these cards. These are the corresponding majors from that Tarot of Magical Correspondences. So we have Hod here, and Hod is then path 30 towards Yesod. So coming forward into the material world. Malkut is on its way down, it's not very far away. And as it says here for Sun, the power of acquiring wealth, collecting intelligence, and then the Sun is intelligence of will. Okay, so that's the astrological and magical associations. Okay, so let's have a closer look at the Thoth card, I think. So here we have the Thoth image. And what I see here is a very stable structure, very agricultural feeling to it as well. And here we see this tree is twisted, whereas the tree on the Waite Smith is quite upright, quite strong. It looks like a solid piece of wood really, but this one here has twisted. Now that seems to me a more stable structure, because if you have one strand, then it can easily be broken. But if you take that strand and start twisting it with others, then it actually makes a stronger rope, really, doesn't it? You know, that's how rope is made, it's by twisting the different strands to make it stronger. And I also see protection, because these leaves here seem to be protecting the fruit or the flower image from the atmosphere. So the background here is quite yellow, which indicates the sun energy, doesn't it? And so, and also the light from the lamp of the Hermit. We need protection from the sun. We know we need protection from the sun, especially this time of year. These are providing shade, these leaves, shading it from the elements. And, you know, it can also rain, can't it, this time of year? This sort of reminds me of, as I said, agriculture. My parents, well, my grandparents had a farm. I've probably told you this again in previous videos, but they had a farm up in Portmaddock in Wales. I've got some pictures, I'll put them up here, of my parents and my grandparents bringing in the harvest. And that's a methodical activity, and sort of reminds me of these coins as well, because the bales, you know, round bales. However, in my parents' case, they were square bales, and they brought them into they had a special building. It was just like a barn, but it had no windows, no doors, no walls. It was open apart from the top. The top was covered, and that's where they would store these hail bales, and that's where we as children would jump and frolic around in them. And so it sort of reminds me of this Ace of Pentacles, bringing in the harvest this time of year, and you know, so it doesn't rot in the field, and actually can be used as food and to be sold. So we've got some really strong foundations there. That is the foundation of my ancestors. Sadly, they're all passed. But yeah, my ancestral heritage there is of the land. And my mum was actually a land army girl. We're looking after the harvest for those long winter days that are going to be coming pretty soon. And it's also about looking after our health, isn't it? Because, as I said, Pentacles are also to do with our health. So it's a good idea to make sure that we are eating good, nutritious food to help us in the long term, so we don't get poorly as we get older. You know, if we make the right choices early on in life, then we build a solid foundation for later on in life, when we've grown, as this tree has probably grown over many, many years. And also it has solid roots. So if those elements do take a turn for the worse, then it's solidly rooted in the ground. The land behind is fertile. So we're also talking about long-term investments, constant care and nurture. Also, you know, in talking about working with the land, then we're working with restrictions as well, which is another sort of Virgo trait. We accept those restrictions and work within them, taking life very, very seriously and making sure everything's going to be just right. So here we've got someone labouring on something that they really care about. The attention to detail here ensures that they're fulfilling their purpose. And the repetition, doing the same thing over and over and over again. Yes, it gains your, you know, your skills, but it also enhances your confidence, because the more you say it was an area of study, the more you learn and go over and over something, then the more it's going to actually give you in the long term. And that's why I like looking at different cards from different decks, because it actually ingrains something into my brain, and I need that to learn something. I need to do something over and over again for it to stick. Whether that stems from my childhood, I don't know, because my father was one for saying the same thing over and over again. You know, can we get it into your head? Sorry, just zoom out again. He would repeat the same instructions over and over and over again, and it used to drive us mad. But I still hear him all these years later, and so it works, you know. And, you know, we harvest the benefits of this repetition. Like I say, like harvesting in the way my parents and grandparents pulled in the harvest. You reap what you will sow, don't you? I think that's the saying, isn't it? Reap what you will sow. And that is a very concrete illustration of this card in practice for me. Being disciplined. Because it takes discipline to bring that harvest in. That was hard work. It really was. But needed to be done. And of course, it's also learning by doing as well. But it's all very well having book meanings and, you know, learning things by the book. However, actually being out in the field and actually doing this thing, whatever it is, repeating it over and over again, is the way that we actually ingrain the skills into our psyche, and it becomes second nature. So let's have a little look at a few other decks, because that's what I was just talking about, and that's what I like to do. So we'll do that next. A couple of Thoth-based decks first. So the New Era Elements by Eleanor F. Piper, and we've got a charming image in here for the Eight of Pentacles. And here we've got a herd of elephants that are walking a path. And they are walking the same path. They walk every year. And that has been handed down to them from their ancestors. This is the path that they've always taken. Their parents took, their grandparents took. And it was the path that led them to where they needed to be. And they don't veer from it. As we know, unfortunately, man does have an impact on these ancestral paths, unfortunately. So that's the New Era Elements. And I thought we'd have a little look at the Urban Tarot, another Thoth-based deck. This one is by Robin Scott. I really like this deck. And they've taken the same keyword, prudence, here, and applied it in a slightly different way. So what I like about this one, we've still got like the 8 coins here, but what this person is working on is time, is watches, it's the timepiece. And I think that's quite telling as well, because there is a time allotted to learning a craft, to learning a skill. It takes time. And I thought, you know, the way that this has been illustrated, actually using a timepiece to illustrate that is brilliant. So yeah, all these clocks in the background as well. We rarely see shops like that anymore. We did used to have one here, but sadly it's long gone. Take a little look at the Deviant Moon. What I've actually done is taken the big book again so we can really look at the image. Okay, so this is the image for the Eight of Pentacles, and what we see here is a factory line. And it's interesting that the sun image is actually here on the card, and also working on perfecting a craft. And it's just a factory line, one after the other, after the other, after the other. And I think that's sort of a negative aspect to this card, the fact that it's just sheer drudgery, factory work. And I know this from experience because I've done this sort of work. It's mind-numbingly tedious work, and you actually don't get to see the sun. The one I worked in, especially in the winter, we'd go in the morning and it'd be dark as we go in, and then when we came out it was dark for the evening and we didn't see daylight. But there's an earlier sketch that Patrick did for the Eight of Pentacles with the carpenter working on a coffin, and then I thought, how apt really, you know, we work till we die. Yeah, hate to be a downer on it, but there is that sort of negative aspect to it. You know, we're just working our way into the coffin. I like this really modern take in the Modern Witch Tarot deck by Lisa Stahl, because for the Eight of Pentacles in this deck we've got somebody actually working on a computer program, which I think is really good, because if anyone's ever tried to learn a program on a computer, it takes forever to actually learn and produce anything worth producing. Really, it takes a lot of time and effort, I found anyway. I mean, maybe some people take to it like a duck to water, but yeah, many hours sat over a computer program. So that's the Modern Witch Tarot deck by Lisa Stahl. I think also to actually do something like produce a tarot deck, just imagine the hours that go into that, because first of all you've got to know the system, so you've got to learn the system and know what it's all about in order to understand it and understand what the imagery means, and then how to interpret that in your own style, and then to actually produce the artwork, to produce the guidebook, to then send it to a publisher, which may reject it, and then actually go through the whole process. That takes a lot of time, and you've got to be dedicated to do something like that, haven't you? You know, it's not something like, oh, this is a good idea, and then abandon it because it's too much work. So hats off to those that actually produce tarot decks, because that's a lot of work. So in the Shadowscapes Tarot we go back to nature once again, and this time the creature of nature, which here is the spider, and we're just coming up to that time of year now when spiders are making an appearance, or when we're actually notice them a lot more this time of year. This is Stephanie Puimonlaw, and again we've got Barbara Moore as the author. And so we say, spider works hard, she weaves her web through the night, each thread placed with care to create a pattern at once beautiful and built for a purpose. It's like a meditation, an intricate dance with 8 legs. Spin, step, step, hold, place thread, twist, and step, and repeat. So we can see that, you know, repetition in order to achieve something clearly illustrated in a spider's web. It's a call to be absorbed in a project, to seek out knowledge and pursue a higher understanding, according to the book. But this must be done with practical experience, using one's own hands and body and mind to create. So we go back there to the magical correspondences, the hand and the head. This is often what is required to achieve success, a practical application of intellect and skill to a task, to see through to the finish. So yeah, seeing it in nature as well. So that's the Shadowscapes Tarot. This is the Sun card and the Hermit card. And if you look at this deck on the is it Fool's Dog app, you can actually home right into the images. So they can be a little bit difficult to see on the cards themselves, but yeah, that Fool's Dog app is brilliant for actually really going into the images and seeing them. Let's zoom back out. So let's have a little look now at the corresponding crystals from the Crystal Magic Tarot, Kerry Ward and Claire Gregory. And let's see what the associations are there. Okay, so for the Sun card we have citrine. This image here. Got some citrine here. Put it in the box. There we go. You can see it. There we go. So that's my little piece of citrine. I've got quite a few different pieces of citrine. And for Hermit, blue chalcedony, which I don't have, but yeah, it's a pretty stone. And then for the Eight of Coins itself, it's Oisite. There we go. Which has what looks like, I'm not sure what sort of bird that is there. And I do believe this is Oisite. There we go. So it does echo the colours, doesn't it, in the card quite nicely. Okay, so let's see what it says about this association in the book. Eight of Coins. So it says, Oisite helps you to manifest your own path while staying focused and grounded. The perfect stone if you need to knuckle down and get working. So Oisite can overcome feelings of lethargy and stimulate creativity, helping you to push beyond fatigue. It can also help you to change destructive behaviour and impulses into more positive actions. So it's a great stone to have at your side if you're struggling to revise. So Oisite is also a detoxifying crystal that slowly transmutes bad vibes into good vibes. So if you're feeling doubtful or weary, this crystal can help you to keep on keeping on. And if you think actually about factory work, it can be mind-numbingly tedious work to do something over and over again. Whereas if you can actually find the joy in your work, then I think you've truly, truly mastered it. So we're collecting here, aren't we, in the jar, which is nice. Okay, I think that's about it. I'm going to wrap it up now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed my little exploration of the Eight of Pentacles with its associated astrology in the Decans, as laid down by the Golden Dawn. Okay, thank you so much for watching, friends. Bye for now. Bye.